Welcome to our live stream of high school sports. Please note that this broadcast is produced by an independent team of sports enthusiasts, and the views, opinions, and commentary expressed are solely those of the commentators and not representative of the schools, teams, or athletes featured. While we strive for accuracy, occasional errors or misstatements may occur. This stream is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the show.
Yeah, come on, let's go. Hey, you ain't never seen nothing like this. Ain't no telling how it might get. It's the hypest right here. High school sports at its finest. So many highlights, you have to rewind it. Hey, Stream City, let me just remind you. The heart of a lion, the team full of fighters. So many stars on the field, it'll blind you. They're giving everything they got till the time's up. Yeah, legends in the making. History is made. We just getting started. You ain't seen a thing. YSN, gotta know the name. They gon' bring the flames, they gon' do their thing. Take it to another level, don't hold back. High school, got a passion and we show that. Got the drive and you know they got the heart. Number one spot for your high school sports. Let's go for the win. Hey.
I'm back. Hello, everybody. Welcome into a Monday episode of YSN Live. YSN Live on YSNLive.com. Today is January 19th, 2026. We're going to make it the best January 19th, 2026 we possibly can because it's the only one we got. I'm Anthony Hartwig. DJ Oakley is having another eye procedure, so we're sending him good vibes today as he gets that taken care of. If everything goes smooth, he'll be back tomorrow with us. Today, we got the professor, the head honcho of our photography department, and the man that does so much for YSN, Greg McAfee. Greg, you're golden. You're looking golden on a Monday. You have the day off, right? No class today for the professor.
Martin Luther King Day, no class today, so I got the day off. Going to do some relaxing, some work on some other things. Prepare for my next class. It's going to be a good day, that's for sure.
Shout out to Martin Luther King, not just giving us the day off on every the third Monday of January. Also, obviously, everything that he did for the society that we live in now, it probably shaped a lot of things in the things that he did in the late 60s for the civil rights movement. And we take time every Martin Luther King Day to appreciate what he did. But on that note, the other thing about Martin Luther King Day is today's kind of a slower day as far as the games on the slate tonight. There's not too much. There's some games happening, a lot of non-conference games. The conference slate is kind of taking a break on Martin Luther King Day. A lot of teams and schools obviously are off today. So kind of a hit and miss day for the YSN network, but we still have games on the network. If you want to check out what we have a little bit later on today, go on to ysnlive.com/live-games, and you can see what our schedule looks like. We'll go over the spreadsheet later on the show, but we'll start, Greg, with the scoreboard from the weekend. And Friday was a very interesting day. A lot of really good games that went down on both sides, boys and girls, as the MVAC was in action on the girls' side and everyone else was in action on the boys' side. We'll start with girls basketball. Southern Local still undefeated. They don't look like nothing is in their way of an EOAC championship. 64-23. I should say one loss. They did fall to Columbia, and I don't want to forget about the Clippers there. Almost forgot about that. Springfield wins over Sebring 40-10. Wyndham is the falls to Grand Valley 50-17. Garrettsville Garfield gets the win over Liberty 58-21, and that is officially Coach Aaron Gilbert's 300th career win as the head coach of the Lady G-Men. So we give him a round of applause. 300 is a lot of wins for a head coach, and he finally got to that milestone. We know that was a big moment for him. And then Lowville gets the win over Campbell 39-28 in the final score there. That was a part of a boys-girls doubleheader in Campbell on Friday. We go to boys basketball. Cardinal gets the win over Lordstown 62-45. Lions able to get the edge over Salem 73-40. Edgewood falls to Geneva 66-52. And then Lakeside gets the win over Jefferson 52-37. In the EBC, West Branch gets the Very close win over Minerva, 55-51. The final, the Warriors pull one out. Grand Valley gets the win over Wyndham in the doubleheader, 65-43. The final. Cheney, they win over Bedford, 64-40. In the Holy War, one that we'll talk about a little bit more when we're done, because Greg, you were there for this one. Ursuline all over Mooney, 77-41. The final score in that one. We go on to the rest of the scoreboard. Conneaut falls to Madison, 71-37. In the doubleheader in Liberty, the G-men barely get past the Leopards in the boys' side, 60-58. The final score is Garfield sweeps that doubleheader. In the NE8, South Range's defense looks really good against Girard as they get the 58-44 win over the Indians. And East battles Heartland Christian in Youngstown, and East gets the 6-point win, holding that Heartland Christian offense that we've seen explode more than this year to just 56 points. An impressive defense by the Bears on Friday night. In the AAC, Austin Town Fitch gets the win over Howland, 54-43. They cool off the Tigers that have been kind of flying high, a couple of big monumental kind of games for them. They were feeling themselves, but Fitch's defense holds them down. Lakeview gets Hubbard gets the win over Lakeview, 49-44 in the NE8. We go to the MVAC, a big one for Brookfield as they split the season with LeBray, as they win 51-40 to upset the Vikings and climb a little bit higher in the standings in that MVAC gray tier. Columbiana gets the win over Latonia, 67-50. Canfield gets the win over Louisville, the reigning state champs. Canfield takes them down 59-39, the final score there. Newton Falls all over Crestview, 81-50, the final score in that one. Perry is the on the wrong end of a game against Hawken, 83-61, the final score in that. Maplewood is the winner over Pymatuning Valley, 80-43. Big night on offense for the Rockets. St. John gets the win over Badger, 61-48. Warren JFK gets the win over St. Thomas Aquinas, 53-42. In the MVAC grade tier, it is Southeast winning over Champion, 45-30. In the EOAC, Valley Christian all over Southern, 79-30, the final score there. MVAC Scarlet tier, Middle Ridge gets the win over Waterloo, 65-53. Back in the AAC, Boardman edges Warren Harding, 47-44, big win for the Spartans. Warren Harding, tough luck in their last three conference games. 2 buzzer beaters and 1 3-point loss in overtime to the Spartans. So the Raiders, although they're not a YSN team, they need to kind of regroup and try to figure things out. They've had a couple of really tough losses in their last several games. 62-27, United gets the win over East Palestine. We have Struthers falling to Poland, 72-47 in the NE8. Back in the EOAC, a very good game in Lisbon as Wellsville gives them the best shot, but the Blue Devils find a way, 63-62, the final score there. McDonald sweeps Western Reserve with a 60-44 win over the Blue Devils. East Liverpool falls to Indian Creek by 1 point, 43-42. Beaver Local is the winner over Brooks, 60-54, the final score in the Beaver Dome. Campbell wins that doubleheader as they split with Lowville, 62-59, the final score on the boys' side between those two. Mohawk is the winner over Riverside, 74-45. Beaver is the on the wrong end of a close one against South Allegheny, 41-38. Last but not least, Springfield sweeps the boys-girls doubleheader as they get the win over Sebring by the final score of 53-21. So a lot of scores coming through on Friday. I will take a little bit of a breath. Greg, what were some of the biggest takeaways that you saw on the scoreboard from Friday? Let's start with the game that you were at, obviously.
Okay.
Runs away with that Holy War, and it's once again Noah Bell and Jalen Gunther doing a lot of the heavy lifting on offense.
Yeah, I mean, Ursuline is just having kind of one of those special seasons. Obviously, they kind of reload year after year. They always have some talented players. This season's no different. Like you said, Noah Bell, Jalen Gunther have really kind of led the way. If it's not one of them, it's the other one, and sometimes it's both of them. On Friday, it was Noah Bell just caught fire late in the game. I think there was a stretch where he scored like 13, 14 consecutive points for the Fighting Irish and really just caught fire. He hit 3 straight threes as part of that little mini run for himself, finished with 35 points, and just really impressive. I mean, they have the ability to kind of play in a bunch of different ways, whether it's, pressing their opponents, or it's, playing a zone, or, running the floor on offense, things like that. They have guys all over that can make shots, make threes, and Gunther is kind of the guy that makes everything go. And Noah Bell is kind of, they're Batman and Robin in a way, or you can have, two Batmans. It's Batman and Batman. You never know who's going to kind of pop off. Friday night was surely Noah Bell's night. He had a really, really good performance, obviously caught fire, like I said, in the second half, and just kind of led the way. I mean, it was a little slow at first. I think it was pretty low scoring in the first quarter, from what I remember, and then things kind of opened up. But Ursuline just has a real special team this year, and they're kind of putting everything together. I think they only have 2 losses. So they're definitely a team to watch as we kind of move forward here.
I was going to say, I don't think either of those guys were Robin. No shade to Robin.
Yeah. That's why I corrected myself. I was like, I don't know.
Batman tier. There have been games this year where they have both like combined with like 80, 85, 90% of the Ursuline offense. With, I think there have been plenty of games where they both combined for over 70 out of, 85 points. When you look at that, like, do you think that, I mean, obviously those two are very special. They're going to be hard to slow down. Do you think, like, how dangerous could Ursuline be if they find that, like, that third guy that can score 10, 15 points and just add a little bit, maybe so it's like 70 or 65% of the offense comes from Jalen Gunther and Noah Bell?
See, I don't think they really, like, the way their roster is set up right now, they don't really need a third guy. I mean, Jalen Gunther and Noah Bell can really go off on any given night, and they have a bunch of really good role players, throughout the roster. Like, they have a bunch of shooters on the outside. Alex Simon is the guy that always kind of pops off the page for me. They have, I believe his name's Eddie Barnes down low in the post, a big guy who can kind of protect the rim. I mean, I think he had 2 or 3 blocks in the first 5 minutes of the game on Friday. So he really kind of protects the paint for the Fighting Irish. And when you have guys like that who can kind of contribute on certain nights, I mean, I think I've covered maybe 3 Ursuline games this year, 1 against Fitch, 1 against Canfield, and then the Holy War on Friday. Alex Simon has always kind of been the guy in the wings who, can hit threes, can contribute when he needs to, and everything like that. And they have guys like that all up and down the roster. So when you have 2 guys like Noah Bell and Jalen Gunther who can kind of control the offense, control how it's running, basically score at will, and then you have guys who can kind of play those contributing roles on the outside, it always comes into play, and it always makes for a very good kind of setup for a team like that. And they're a strong team for sure. I envision them making a deep run this year.
They're on a 4-game winning streak right now, coming after that tough loss to Gilmore Academy 5 games ago. I think it was 78-73 was the final score in that Gilmore game. Looking at their last couple of games, their defense, who if anyone's ever watched a Keith Gunther led team, defense is the calling card. I don't care how good their offense is. You go to one of his practices, you talk to him after a game. Like, if his defense isn't playing well and they still win offensively, he's really not a happy camper. He wants that defense to be at the best it can be. 44 points against Mooney, and then 37 points against Smithville in the game before that. Defense is starting to really click for this team.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of they played a couple different versions throughout Friday. I mean, late in the game, they were pressing. They really put the pressure on Cardinal Mooney. They kind of dropped back at first, and they were kind of, playing man-to-man and everything like that. And Barnes was, protecting the paint with the blocks. And, if you go look at our Instagram, you can see a couple of the photos where he just kind of skied high and rejected some layup attempts and things like that. And they just played really good defense. They put the pressure on Cardinal Mooney. Mooney never really seemed comfortable throughout the game, and they were kind of really able to control things, control possession throughout the game. And it was definitely a 2-way game for the Fighting Irish. And I mean, obviously the scoreboard shows at the end of the night.
Looking at the stats, I just want to put what Jalen Gunther and Noah Bell are doing in actual perspective with the numbers. Jalen Gunther is averaging 30 points per game. Yeah. And Noah Bell is averaging 23 points per game and almost 10 rebounds. So he's almost averaging a double-double. It's like it's video game level numbers what those two are putting up.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being at the paper when I think Jalen was an 8th grader. And you could you see like the updates on Twitter come across. Oh, Jalen Gunther popped off for 40 points, 45 points tonight, 50. I think he scored 50 at some point. I could be wrong there. It was a couple years ago. But you knew what they were going to get in him. You knew how talented he was. And, when he has the ball in his hands, he controls the offense. He makes sure everything goes. And him and Bell work so in concert with each other that like they don't care if one of them's, going off like on Friday. Jalen understood what was going on, like how hot Noah was that night, and he was kind of just, letting them take over and feeding him the ball. He was calling out plays to make sure Noah was kind of involved in the offense consistently enough, and he's always going to get his. I mean, he can get to pretty much any point on the court. He has a great mid-range game with his jump shot. He can get to the hoop, and I mean, there was one point, if you look at the highlight on our YouTube or on IG, where he pulled up from 10, 15 feet behind the 3-point line and just drained it. So
And
he can get his.
all those shots he can put up and make, but he can also play above the rim.
Yeah.
And like there aren't too many, like you don't see a lot of high school kids, especially in our area where there's a bunch of rural schools, that are big enough to play above the rim, but also at the same time can go out and play like a guard. That's kind of next level. You're going to see him on the next level kind of special. Obviously, he's getting a lot of looks from big schools. But like when you're that big where you can play above the rim, but you can also go out there and play like a guard, that's why he's averaging 23 and 10 per, because it's just so hard to stop.
Yeah, and I mean, I covered their game against Canfield where he scored his 1,000th career point. And there was like a switch that was flipped in him. I mean, he really just kind of took over the game at one point. And I can't remember, he finished with 30 points or more, I believe, if I remember correctly. But he just had a special night where he can get to the line, he can hit those mid-range jumpers, and he can really shoot from behind the 3-point line as well. But he also gets to the cup at will. And he's a special player and excited. I was kind of surprised. I was talking to Logan Sarnas, who was calling the game on Friday. I didn't realize Noah Bell was also a junior at the time. So the fact that they're both coming back next year is pretty special to kind of think about moving forward.
Looking ahead first, and they have Madison Washington next on tomorrow. I almost said on Tuesday. It really doesn't make sense when it's tomorrow. So they'll go to Madison Washington, and they have a couple of home games before they play another YSN team in Fitch on the 30th. I have to look. The ISA, International Sports Academy out of Sandusky, is who they play after Massillon. And then they'll play. Come on, keep scrolling, Max Preps. I got stuck by one of those pop-ups.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they play St. Vincent St. Mary after that on the 27th. That'll be a fun one. Irish versus the Irish. So it's just like their schedule is racked full of just huge names and big teams. So they're going to be battle tested in the tournament.
Yeah.
And I think that they're obviously, I think they're the team to watch when you're talking about what team can make the big tournament run.
Yeah.
You got to have Ursuline at the top of the list, I imagine.
Yeah. And it's funny where like, because teams like it's kind of like pick your poison. Like on Friday, Cardinal Mooney ran a box and one on Gunther. So they played like a 4-person zone, and they had, a defender kind of follow Jalen anywhere they went. And when the opportunity presented itself, they doubled Jalen. So at that point, there's always someone else open. There's always going to be someone open. And Noah kind of took advantage of it. And it's the way they're playing right now is really positive to see kind of moving forward, because they can really beat teams in a plethora of ways. And so, I mean, if you're looking to beat Ursuline, I mean, those are the two guys you got to watch.
You can't double them both, right?
Yeah, you can't double them both.
You have to have I feel like if I'm a coach and I'm saying, how do I beat Ursuline? If I don't have someone that can guard one of those two one-on-one, then I'm in a bad spot.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm just in a real bad spot.
You can't really fall into a 2-3 zone against them because they shoot the ball so well,
right.
And you can't really play them man-to-man. So they present just a lot of. They present a lot of matchup problems.
Or like obviously with Gilmore Academy, they were just like, we'll just outscore them.
Yeah.
If you have the offense that can go and score with them and run with them like Gilmore did, and there are teams that can do that. I'm sure there'll be tournament games deep in the tournament where we see Ursuline get into kind of those running matches with teams that are just as good offensively. And it'll be one of those kind of games.
That's my favorite type of basketball to watch. It was funny. I was at a game earlier this year, and when I go out and shoot these games, I like to kind of talk to the officials as I can, like if they're kind of standing next to me, or I like to introduce myself just so they know where I'm going to be standing, and just kind of be friendly and everything like that.
Right.
And a lot of them are like, I can't do these running matches with with some of these schools, like running up and down the court. And I was like, those are my favorite games to watch.
You just stand there.
So yep, I just
you don't have to run with them. Can you imagine you had to run with them with the camera?
That would be wild. But those are my favorite games to watch. Like Ursuline plays a special type of basketball that I love to see. One of my favorite teams to watch in the area. I mean, especially when you have guys like Jalen Gunther and Noah Bell.
Real quick, we'll talk about the other side of that matchup because Mooney, obviously, that was a tough one, but they were actually, it was, I think, a lot closer than the final score. Like you said, Noah Bell went off late to kind of make it a runaway, but there was a lot of points in that game where you felt like Mooney was pretty competitive. And that snapped a little bit of a win streak for Mooney as they won against Valley Christian. They won against JFK. So they were feeling pretty good. They lost a really close one against South Range between those two. But they were feeling pretty confident about themselves before that. They have Fitch tomorrow on the road, and then Kansas City Catholic, and then Brooklyn before they play another YSN team in the first game of February in Heartland Christian. What do you think about Mooney? What are some things that Mooney kind of does so well that they can kind of build on after that loss?
I've seen him a couple times this year. I saw him play Fitch early on this season, and then I saw him play Boardman, and I saw him play Canfield as well. They have the pieces. Caden Reese is a great point guard. I really like Dante Turner as kind of like a shooting guard. He can really get to his mid-range game and everything like that. And they have guys kind of all over the court as well. They have size down low. They have guys who can shoot on the outside. I know they were kind of hit with the sickness bug earlier in the season. Like when I saw them play Canfield, they didn't have Caden Reese and they didn't have a couple other players due to sickness. So they have the pieces. And when you have a veteran coach like Harry Palermo, he's always going to have his guys ready to go. And early on Friday, they were playing well. Like I mentioned, I think it was maybe a 5-point game after the first quarter. I'd have to go look at the film or look at the highlight again to see. But it was close early on. They were going back and forth, and then Ursuline kind of just started running away with things in the second half. But Mooney has the pieces. They have the guys there. They just, they battle with things nightly like a lot of teams in the area.
We say this every year on this show about Mooney, and I feel like every year people forget about it. It's like the weather when they're like, I don't remember it being this humid in August ever before. And you're like, last August. Mooney is a postseason team. And Kerry Palermo is a postseason coach. He is one of the best postseason coaches I've ever seen. I don't care what their record is. They go into the postseason a new team, a dangerous team. They know how to win in the postseason. They know how to put themselves in positions to win districts, to get in the regionals. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing with this schedule is they're saying, what can we do to play into deep into February, into March? They're good at it. And I'll never kind of poo-poo on Mooney during the regular season.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of struggles they have, they're always that team that kind of finds a way in postseason.
Yeah, and because they can play in a plethora of different ways. They can play defense. I mean, I remember a couple years ago where they went on their run. They were primarily a defensive team in the playoffs. They just shut teams down, and that's how they kind of made their run. I can't remember how far they went off the top of my head. It's it's been a couple years for me. But they're always ready to go in the playoffs. And I mean, a loss like this to a team like Ursuline, it's like, all right, let's chalk it up. Let's look at the film. Let's erase it. And let's move forward and kind of get ready for the next opponent. I've seen them play well multiple times this year, so I have no worries about Mooney at this point in the season. That's for sure.
February 13th, it is the rematch, and that one will be at Mooney between these two teams. Holy War is always a 2-game thing in every sport except football. obviously. They play each other twice, so we'll see that matchup again in February on the 13th in Mooney.
And I do got to say one more thing before we move on, if we are moving on, but the atmosphere in that gym on Friday was absolutely electric. And I kind of mentioned it at the beginning of the year when I came on here and we were kind of talking about different atmospheres and everything like that. But basketball is one of my favorite sports to cover because of the atmospheres you get in different gyms around the area. And it was absolutely electric on Friday. Both student sections were going loud. They were going crazy. And that's what you like to see in rivalry games like that. You like to see the gym packed. I kind of had to move around at different times throughout the game, try to find a spot to shoot photos. But it was fun to see. So I'm looking forward to that.
We need more of that. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah,
like, we need more of
100%.
that in high school basketball in the local scene. Like calling out communities a little bit. Like that atmosphere is possible, and when a basketball atmosphere is done right, I think Greg's absolutely on point. It's the best there is.
Yeah,
but we just need more of it. Like we need more
Yeah.
student engagement to come out and not just be at the games, but be engaged in the games. We need these communities to like. I've seen big crowds, but like a lot of them are just kind of. It feels like they're just there.
Yeah,
We need that atmosphere back in high school basketball in the big picture. I know there are schools out there that do it. Like bravo to you. There are definitely teams that. So I'm not a blanket statement. Of course, don't want people to be like, well, we have a great atmosphere. Like this is a generalized statement, but I feel like there's a lot of we need it more consistently. We need that atmosphere more consistently in basketball.
I like those atmospheres where I gotta, if I'm talking to someone like standing right next to me, I gotta get like right next to their ear to like
and it's
say
not
what I'm
because they're
trying to
blaring
say.
music over the people.
You got the band playing, you got the crowd
Like,
going
yeah,
crazy. Yeah, it's those are the fun atmospheres I like to be a part of for sure.
So we'll go back to this scoreboard. A lot of close games on Friday, Greg, and I want to talk about the parity in basketball this year. Do you see, you've covered basketball obviously a lot this year, first year for YSN, but you've covered it. Do you see like a difference in parity this year? I feel like it's just a feeling. Like I don't have numbers to back this up. I haven't gone and done research or anything. No journalism here. Don't worry, we're not pros yet. But do you feel like there's a little bit like more parity this year than maybe in a couple of years past?
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Like we're seeing more closer games. We're seeing more competitive conference, runs. We're seeing more. We're just seeing more kind of equal teams out there. We're seeing a lot closer games. And I feel like there's more teams that like feel like they can be beat any given night.
I've kind of seen like throughout the games I've covered this year, I've had a mix. I've had a mix of blowouts. I've had a mix of really close games. So it's kind of been up and down for me. I mean, some games are, blowouts. Some games are really close. I mean, like the game on Friday was obviously a little bit of a blowout, but the energy was always there. The atmosphere was always there. The speed of the game was consistent throughout. But I think you're right, Anthony. I think you get teams that are kind of maybe surprising teams on different levels. Like the Canfield Mooney game I covered earlier this year. Canfield came away with a win. Obviously, Cardinal Mooney was a little bit shorthanded, but it was still, the energy was still there. But I think it's on any given night, any team can win a game. And so I think you see that throughout the area. You see a lot of close games. Boardman, obviously Harding's played in a couple of close games. Boardman's been in a couple of close games as well. But any given team on any given night can win a game here in the area. And I think it shows to, the basketball talent we have here. But I obviously think there are some top teams that have been able to pull away from their opponents. I mean, one team that has stuck out to me throughout the season is McDonald. I saw him play Girard when you were calling the game a couple weeks ago before the holiday, and they have people all over the court that can make plays. Drew Zajac, Casey Miller, Joe Capizzello, if I hope I pronounced that name right, and a couple other guys. Brandon Emmerich is another guy. So they're a team that has kind of stood out to me. But I mean, any given night, any team can win, and it makes basketball fun in the area.
Even McDonald's is undefeated right now. They've found ways to win, but there have been games where it's like they're close.
It's close. Yeah, it's close.
They're not blowing people out. I feel like there's not one team this year, and this is no shade, but I don't think there's one team this year that feels almost unbeatable. Where well, no one's going to touch them, especially on the boys' side. Girls' side, there's obviously a couple teams that kind of look like, especially in the conference, there's just no chance that anyone's going to really be able to get a hand on them. But on the boys' side, it just feels like there's no team that looks like so much better than everybody else that they're just kind of up here. Even Ursuline, who we just talked up for 15 minutes, they have a couple losses on their schedule, so they've kind of had some chinks in their armor. McDonald's undefeated, but like I said, they've had some teams that have gotten really, really close where they weren't necessarily dominant over them. So I just feel like the gap is closed a little bit this year.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I think so. I mean, I think you see some results this year where they're closer than you may have expected, and things like that. And so, I mean, like I said, any given night, I mean, that's why they play the game, right? I mean, you take the court for a reason, and you play you play 4 quarters for a reason, and you got a lot of decent teams in the area that can win on any given night. I mean, Harding was a team that was riding high at the beginning of the year, and now they fall to Howland, they fall to Fitch, and now they fall to Boardman in overtime. So you got teams that are being competitive, trying to turn things around. Mineral Ridge is another team that's I think they're a team to watch kind of later in the year. They got a couple guys on the outside that can really shoot the ball, and then they got some size on the inside too. So they're going to be another team that's competitive night in and night out.
Yeah, I'm looking at the scoreboard. I'm counting. There were 13 games on Friday alone that were under 10 points. And my estimate, if you're under 10 points, that's like, okay, it's close, it's competitive, it's right there. 10 points plus, you're starting to get a little bit more like that team was dominant. And I know not everything's equal because some teams run away in the fourth quarter, but that's like my gauge right there. So like 13 games on Friday were less than 10 points. And I think not eight or nine of those were, I flipped off the page, 8 or 9 of those were one possession games where it was like right there down the wire. I feel like last year there wasn't a Friday where you could say that there were 13 games that were 10 minus points, or it feels like the games are a lot closer, a lot better this year. And like I said, I haven't done a deep dive to look at last year's scores and be like, yeah, we're definitely seeing a 20% increase. We're seeing a 20% increase in the amount of one-score games this year. We don't have that kind of number crunching yet on YSN journalism. We're getting there, but it's just a feeling, just one of those gut feelings that I feel like maybe games are a little bit closer this year than maybe they were last year, especially on the boys' side. Greg, what are you looking forward to this week? Do we know where you're gonna pop your head this week?
Yeah, I was kind of looking at the schedule earlier this morning. I was thinking at Boardman Howland tomorrow. I also haven't been able to get out to Heartland Christian yet, or I haven't seen Heartland Christian yet. That's another team that's kind of been on my radar. But we're getting to the point of the season to where you kind of, you start seeing those rematches from earlier in the year. Like Niles Gerard was a game that I covered earlier this year. Poland Hubbard was another game that was kind of on my radar for Tuesday. But there's some teams in the area that I haven't really gotten a chance to get out and see yet. There's another one, maybe Campbell Memorial, Mineral Ridge on Thursday, on the boys' side. So that could be a solid game. And then Friday, what did I have picked out Friday? I haven't seen East yet. East was another team that I wanted to see. And then I've also wanted to get up to Akron and see Hoban play. I haven't seen Hoban play yet. So that's another team. Yeah, I gotta see, I gotta get a little travel inside. And then obviously I've been trying to get out to some wrestling matches and things like that too. So I haven't really solidified my schedule, but those are a couple of things that are on my radar. I'm really looking forward. I was talking to Chris Galucci maybe middle of last week, the week before, about getting up to the state tournament for the wrestling this season. It's one of my favorite things to do. I got to do it a couple times when I was at the newspaper in the area. I love going up there. I love the chaos. I love all the moving parts. I love shooting the photos. So I'll definitely be up there for that. That's something I'm looking forward to.
Last year we had 30 plus wrestlers, some boys and girls combined, get to the podium in state. So I think this year you'll have plenty of people to shoot. If things keep going the way they're going. And Wrestling Wednesday in a couple of days, we're going to have Trevor McElhaney from Crestview be our special guest this week on Wrestling Wednesday. So don't miss that in a couple of days with Gary Altizer. Greg, I want to talk about not instant replay in the NFL this weekend was crazy. And we're gonna dial it down to our level first, because I feel like replay and video broadcasts have been great for the sport, but terrible for the fans. It's made fans kind of unbearable to kind of listen to, because they take everything, like they take screenshots and they zoom in, like, look at this, look at how the ball is rotating in this, like, one screenshot of the TV broadcast. It's we've gotten out of control with how we take video and replay. I think as fans, I think it's gotten nuts. Greg, what do you make all the highlights? You've seen our social media explode in a couple of games with some close calls that were 50-50 calls for referees, and people have dissected them on the video. What do you think? Obviously video replay has done wonders for the actual sport. I'm not going to sit here and say video replay is bad for the sport of football or the sport of basketball, but I feel like for the fandom, we've kind of gone crazy with video replay. Do you feel that too?
So here's my stance on it. And first I want to say this because we've had our conversations within our group chats at YSN and things like that, where we we discuss some of the things we've talked about over the last couple of weeks. So first I want to say this: being a referee at the high school level, being an official, is hard enough as it is. I mean, everyone's human. Everyone makes mistakes. It's a very hard job, especially when the fans get involved, especially, when parents are screaming at them. And, I've been to probably over 1,000 games in my journalism career, covering high school sports, covering professional sports, covering collegiate sports. And, the one thing that continues to pop up when I cover high school athletics is, the comments that are made to officials night in and night out. It never fails to appear at some point. Being an official is hard. And decisions are hard, and calls, everyone makes mistakes. Like I said, as far as the instant replay goes, it's a technology thing at this level, because not every school district or anything like that has the funds to be able to put things in place to where referees could benefit from instant replay. And like we said, mistakes are made. I mean, we talked about that Holland Warring game for I don't know how long, and I think it's close to 200,000 views on our Facebook page right now, and it's been shared multiple times from other pages and everything like that. And so everyone kind of dives in, like you said, Anthony. Everyone kind of dives in. They want to make their own opinion on the call and everything like that. Some of the opinions are right, some of the opinions are wrong. But the call was made, the play was made, and the result is what it is at this point. And when you have the technology in place, that's what I love about our company, is that we have the technology to kind of provide the conversational points for some of these things. Like as soon as I can't remember who called Sean, as soon as Sean told us kind of what happened, I was like immediately into our library of content, cut up the highlight, because it creates conversation as well. Mm-hmm. But instant replay is just it's a thing that's meant to be used at the collegiate and professional level. And if it somehow leaked its way down in the high school level, I think it would be awesome for the sport. But again, I think we got to take away the conversation away from the officials. I mean, obviously they're humans. They make mistakes like all of us. No one is perfect at their jobs. And it's tough. It's a tough job. That's all. I mean, replays it kind of adds to that as well.
Here's the crazy, even with replay, if this weekend has taught you guys anything, and this is every year, it feels like in the NFL playoffs. I thought it was just Chiefs hate until the year that we're not in it, and it's still just wild. Two people can look at a replay, the exact same replay, and have two different opinions on it, and that's why you'll see close plays and replay kind of go one way or the other, because they're still humans watching that replay, and they have their own things of what they're seeing. And I think this weekend proves, with a couple of plays in the NFL, you look at social media, you'll see there are people that see the exact same thing one way, and the exact same replay, there's people that see it the entirely other way. Now, usually it's what team they're rooting for, or what team they bet on is actually more, But
and I mean, you can also have the point where replay can change an opinion. I mean, we talked and everyone knows I'm a Bills fan, and so obviously from the game on on Saturday, I was watching the game. Gene Steratore, who's a legendary official in the NFL, is on the broadcast, CBS broadcast, and with the Brandon Cooks catch, and I believe it was in overtime, he said it wasn't a catch, or it wasn't, it
was a pick. It was
the defender came away with the interception, walked back his comments on Sunday, said it was a catch, should have been ruled a catch, and everything like that. So replay can change opinions. It can go either way. Everyone's going to see something different. It's just like with journalists. I mean, you could send 10 journalists to a game, and they'd probably all write something similar, pretty different.
The NFL had the bad luck that the almost exact same scenario happened in the Rams game. Where now people are, and it went the other way, where the Rams receiver was ruled down by contact. And that made fans lose their minds. I think it was slightly different. I don't think it was like carbon copy of plays when I'm looking at the two replays. But the fact that it was close enough, bad luck for the NFL that those two plays went the opposite way, because now you gave fans fuel to the fire to be like, well, why didn't it get called that way in this game?
Yeah.
It's I think we've gotten a little nuts as fans with instant replay and trying to be like hard hitting, like investigative journalists with diving into like these conspiracy theories with the replays and stuff. And some of the things I see on social media, I'm like, you turn into a monster, but no one in the NFL, no one in the NCAA, no one in the OHSA is watching your opinion on social media and going, dang, Greg's right. We better change that, like nothing you say on social media will ever change the call or the result. Like, I don't know. I see some like monsters on social media on the replay, and I'm like, yeah, I get you're upset. Like it was a tough call, but like at the same time, I'm like what are you doing? You're absolute, like you're going on this monster tirade where your horns are out, and not your like Greg, but like you're in the. Greg did not say anything. Greg was a nice fan. He was in control under the, at least on social media. I don't know what your group chats look like on Saturday. But,
they were pretty angry.
Like guys, let's take a little bit of a chill pill. In my opinion, I think, and I thought, like I said, I thought it was just Chiefs hate in the last 7 years. I thought people were just, because it always happened. Every Chiefs game there was some play or some replay, and it was, but it's not, because Chiefs aren't in the playoffs this year, and they're still going crazy on every game. It feels like there's one call that people want to dissect and say, well, this wasn't this. And even in the Bills game, not outside of that interception, people were like taking screenshots of the end zone. There was holding in the end zone, but like the angle is not down the line at all, so you cannot say that guy's in the end zone just from that angle, which is crazy. It's just, I think we've gone a little bit too far with how we react to replay and these technology on social media, which is nature of the beast. When you're having 100 cameras on, obviously that gives fans the tools to see what I would be really interested, because like I wasn't a fan or a serious football fan until replay was a thing. Like challenges were a thing. Like I grew, like I was like 10 years old when challenges became a thing. So before that, I obviously wasn't on social media or anything like that. I would be really interested to see like how fans in the early 90s reacted when like the TV replay was there, but challenges weren't there. So you could see that a play was wrong, but the call still stood. I wonder if they were still as crazy about it, or if it kind of just went by the wayside more because like, hey, there's no challenge. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
it's just what it is.
It's just like with I'll compare it to something else here. It's just like with social media in general, and the passing of information. Like, way back in the day when news wasn't like instant, right. People didn't like you couldn't go out and like share your opinions. There wasn't like a medium for that. And now you have social media and everything like that. And so as soon as, someone sees something, they can go out and like, oh, this wasn't a catch. This was a catch, blah, blah, blah. It shares, it's you have the information at your fingertips, so you can dissect it on your own, formulate your own opinion, and share it where you need, and share it where you want to share it. And it's, so I think that's where it comes from mostly, is like just the ability to, because if there was no social media, you and I would be sitting at home, Anthony, screaming into a void, into the four walls of our house. No one else would know what our opinion was at that time, unless you texted someone or called someone.
Called your neighbor. I'll tell you what, man. Which I'm sure a lot of people did in the early 90s and late 80s. I'm sure there were a lot of angry phone calls to their. A lot of those. I remember back in the day, those like three-way phone calls were like the thing, where you'd bring someone else on. Yeah, and you could talk and like three different people talking at the same time. Probably a lot of group phone calls after football games back in the late 80s and early 90s. So one of the things that I also want to bring up, obviously, Bills fan Sean McDermott is no longer the head coach. We talked about it before the show went on. What are you feeling?
I was telling you before the show, I kind of compare him a lot. I think he's very similar to Mike Tomlin. He obviously came into the Bills franchise and changed things. I mean, I think they had a 28 year playoff drought before he took over. and he took them to the playoffs in his first year as the head coach. And from there, he established them as one of the winningest franchises in the NFL. From when he took over to now. I mean, I think he was 98-50 or something as a head coach in 9 years. He took them to the playoffs. Obviously, I think, Josh Allen has a lot to do with that as well. But it's to the point where, all right, what gets them over the edge now? You know what I mean? I didn't expect them to fire him. I mean, I thought like this wasn't the 13 seconds year. This wasn't a year where something happened late in the game where it was a coaching mistake that could have been fixed or something like that. This wasn't that. I wasn't expecting him to get fired or anything like that. But there always comes a time in a franchise where a change needs to be made. And to get a franchise over the top. I saw something earlier today before we actually came onto the show where it was, the Buccaneers fired Tony Dungy and hired John Gruden and won a Super Bowl shortly after. And there's been a couple of those instances throughout the NFL to where, you have a winning coach, but you choose to move on to try to get over the hump, and it happens. But I mean, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. I believe he'll have a head coaching job pretty quickly. And so it'll be interesting to see what they do next for sure.
Then on the other side, like I'm a big Josh Allen fan. I know people don't get it because but our teams are rivals. We get that. Like we're probably gonna have to go through each other at least 2 or 3 more times in our quarterbacks' careers.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of Josh Allen. I think Patrick Mahomes is a big fan of Josh Allen. Those two like each other a lot. They respect each other a lot. Where do you he's that quarterback that can't really find a way into the big game? Are you still a huge believer that the Josh Allen's window is still there? He's getting older. The mobility will keep going down the older he gets. Same with Patrick Mahomes. So the Chiefs have to kind of come to realization with that as well. Do you feel like there's Josh is still the guy that can take you to that Super Bowl?
Yeah, 100%. I was telling you before the show, Anthony, I think there's a 3 to 4 year window. I compare him a lot to Ben Roethlisberger. Because they're both mobile quarterbacks. Josh is probably a little bit more mobile than Ben was throughout his career. But as time gets on, as you get older, as you take more hits, the mobility isn't always there. And I think Josh is best when he can, be mobile and move around the pocket and run for first downs and run for touchdowns. So I think you got to take advantage of that sooner rather than later. And you got to surround him with some playmakers. But I think, if there's a quarterback to take us to the promised land, it's Josh Allen for sure.
The thing that worries me, and that worries me because I'm a fan of Josh Allen. Someone put the 5-second snippets of every post-game interview from the playoff losses since they started. Yeah. And you can tell they're starting to take a really big toll.
Oh yeah.
On his, I don't want to say his mental health because I don't know where his mind is necessarily, but you can start to see the change in how he feels after these losses. He's starting to feel the weight of, I can't get through these playoffs. And I hope that doesn't take a huge, I hope he doesn't get the yips from it, but you can kind of clearly see he's starting to get kind of tired of this whole, do you think maybe, does his mind start to go, can I do this in Buffalo? Do you think this coaching change was kind of a thing hey, we have to change something, or Josh Allen might start to think the grass might be greener somewhere else?
I don't think so. He said multiple times, in interviews throughout his career that his one goal is to bring a Super Bowl to Buffalo. I think he wants to get it done here. I think what you see in the interview from Saturday is that this was, you have all of these games, kind of all the playoff games over the last couple of years, kind of leading up to this one. And the one thing I was saying to my friend that I was watching the game with, I was normally at the end of the game, Josh Allen doesn't have the ball in his hands. It's the defense. You know what I mean?
That's too
and and tonight on Saturday it was, all right, Josh has got the ball in his hands. Second possession in overtime, they stopped the Broncos. It's his job to go down and get a score. And obviously there was the call and everything like that on the Brandon Cooks catch, but he also threw 2 interceptions. He also fumbled twice. I mean, the game was on his shoulders and they kind of fell short in a way, if you know what I mean. So I think it kind of weighs on him a little bit more in comparison to 13 seconds where he throws 3 touchdowns to Gabe Davis and, you know, gives his team the lead with 13 seconds left, and the Chiefs go down and score to put the game into overtime. And then there was the whole overtime rule at the time, which changed. But you kind of saw that over the course of the last couple of years, and this was the year where it's all right. Like, I'm in position to go win this game for my team, and then I'll get it done. So I think that weighs on you a little bit more than in years past.
Yeah, and that is 2 years in a row where he had the ball with a chance to. Last year was to tie or take the lead. This year, obviously, was to win it in overtime. But, you know, I don't think it's necessarily fair to say, well, this one possession is because not everything's on Josh Allen. You know, that throw was pretty good. I think Brandon Cooks had a chance to catch it. He let the ball bounce off. I
think he did catch it. I think he did
let
catch
the ball
it.
bounce off. Well,
I saw the replay. He
had a chance to catch it more. He had a chance to catch it more clearly, right? He could have not let the ball bounce off his face mask, because if you saw it hit his face mask first before he caught it, and then like, hey, don't let the guy rip it from you, and it's yours. Like, secure the ball. That's not on. My point is that's not on Josh Allen. It's a perfect throw right to his face, right? Like when it hits your face mask, and you still can't catch it.
I got
catch it securely. What do you say? Like that's a pick on Josh Allen's mark, but it's not Josh Allen's fault.
Yeah.
And even the second fumble, I don't know I think the second fumble, your left tackle gets smoked. Not Josh Allen's fault. Like, he had no time at all, and he gets hit from behind. First fumble, your fault. You can't be running around like this.
You can't be running around like Mike Vick.
You're not Mike Vick. Sorry. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. I think
it is tough. You know, I come from a family where, like, so how I became a Bills fan, obviously I'm from Western New York, but my grandparents had season tickets, you know, throughout my life. My uncles went to all 4 Super Bowls. My grandpa went to all 4 Super Bowls. I think my mom went to 1 or 2. So I kind of grew up into the misery. I grew up into Rob Johnson, Doug Flutie, Drew Bledsoe. I grew up through all the dark times of the Buffalo Bills.
The miracle in
Minnesota, or whatever. Is it? I can't remember. It's the Music City Miracle.
Music City Miracle.
Music City Miracle. I knew it was an alliteration somehow. So I grew up in the misery. So it's nothing I'm not used to. It gets old after a while, but I have positivity that I think that they will get it done at some point. Some point will happen. This was obviously there's the whole conversation that this was their Joe Burrow, no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, whoever.
That's why I thought this was Josh Allen's window.
Yeah. But they were also, they had holes all over the place. I mean,
they did.
Like there was a stat from Saturday where, like, most of his receiving yards were to his running backs and tight ends, and he was like, it was some outstanding number to his wide receivers, because they were down to their 3-4 wide receivers, and they got to surround him with some playmakers.
Even when they had Stephon Diggs, I don't think I think he underperformed in Buffalo. I don't think Josh Allen has never had like a game wrecking wide receiver, in my opinion.
Their best offense was the year that they had, and I've said this a million times, it was the year they had Stephon Diggs, John Brown, and Cole Beasley. They didn't really have a running game. Josh Allen was the running game.
Right. And
those short, quick passes to Cole Beasley were basically their running game. And then Dawson Knox was like kind of in his prime. He was a young wide receiver, young tight end who could go out and catch passes. He's kind of, falling off a little bit with Dalton Kincaid joining the fray. But they just didn't. I was underly positive all year long that they had a shot to go win the Super Bowl this year, just because of all the holes on defense and everything.
Especially when the playoffs started, you're sitting there like, Mahomes, Lamar, not here.
I mean that was the only like positive thing you could work off of, but like you
can't take anything for granted. That's just
I mean you're down. You don't have your rookie cornerback on the outside, so you're down to 3 defensive backs, and you're relying on a past his prime Jordan Poyer, who got hurt and wasn't able to contribute in the back end. But like, I mean the thing is, like, the Broncos, 2 of the Broncos touchdowns were against a practice squad defensive back and a rookie safety. Dane Jackson came in to fill in for, I think it was Trey White, and Bo Nix targeted him right away. And then I think their first or second touchdown was on the safety. I can't remember his first name, Savage. And just, I mean, so what can you do, Anthony? You know, it is what it is. Season's over. We're into the off season. I'm gonna be positive from here on out.
One more Bills question, and we'll go to our Spark, which we'll probably go back into local like we like to do here at YSN. Yep. But if the Bills franchise ended right now, like if for some reason it imploded, which God forbid, it would never happen, but like hypothetical, what quarterback means more to the franchise, Kelly or Allen right now? Because neither one of them won a Super Bowl, but obviously Kelly went to 4 straight, had that big run. Yeah. Josh Allen has been like on top of the world, been one of the faces of the NFL. I don't think Kelly was one of the faces of the NFL back in the 90s, even as good as he was. I feel like there are other superstars. So if you had to pick like the Wall of Fame quarterback that gets the biggest poster in the Bills franchise, who do you think you'd give it to right now if this was the end of the franchise run?
I would say Josh Allen, and here's why. Obviously, like I think recency bias is a little bit in there, but I've also grown up with Josh Allen. Like, I mean, I started like really, like obviously I grew up in a Bills family. I grew up going to games and everything like that, but I didn't really start paying attention to football until like Stevie Johnson was one of their top wide receivers. Like I grew up with Trent Edwards and JP Losman and all of those guys. So I've watched the most football with Josh Allen at the helm. But if you look at those teams from way back when, you know, the really, really good Bills teams, the ones that went to 4 straight Super Bowls, you had Jim Kelly, you had the K gun. I mean, the offense was surrounded, you know, he was the center of the offense. But they also had Thurman Thomas, who's a Hall of Fame running back. They also had Andre Reed, who's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Jim Kelly, obviously, Hall of Fame quarterback.
They also had a defense that was a monster.
Yeah, and like you had Bruce Smith. I mean, like all those guys are on the Wall of Fame up in Buffalo. They're on the stadium. Right. They have the suites named after him or whatever. So he was surrounded by talent. Josh Allen, the conversation you get a lot is he's got to put on a Superman cape when they get into the playoffs and everything like that. And he's done that for most of his career. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. And he owns all the Bills passing records and things like that. So I would say Josh Allen.
All right. So now we'll go into our favorite part of the show, the way we ended every time we come on. Our wonderful sponsor, Joe Dickey Electric. Everything electrical you can find with them, and you can also find them at DickeyElectric.com. They sponsor the Spark of the Day, where we give off a positive, or sometimes we have to, give some stuff out. Sometimes we have to dish some stuff out. But the Spark is the Spark, and here it is. All right, Professor, you get 1 spark a week, so you better make it count. What's your spark today?
All right, you go first, Anthony, because I haven't done this before.
Okay, well, you're usually out before the end of the show.
I'm usually out before this.
There have been some sparks that I've been saving up because I haven't been on this show in a while. So this is a spark that probably should have been last week, would have been last week if I was healthy and able to be on the show. We lost a couple of big names in the local, one in the local media, and 2 in the local coaching departments last week that I want to kind of give homage to, that I would have given a shout out, of course, last week. First, Doug James, K105, the voice of my childhood. Every time you wake up in the mornings when I was a kid, we were a country music family, so we had K105 bumping every morning. And when you listen to the radio, you listen to Doug James. He was like the voice of country music, the voice of a lot of people. He's one of the people, like, this is probably the biggest compliment you can give to a radio jockey. As soon as you hear that voice, I know, like, that. Oh, that's Doug. It's just one of those iconic voices of radio. And unfortunately, he passed away last week, and it was one of those ones I was like, man, that sucks. And then, of course, in the coaching community, we lost Pat Kenny, the head coach. Yeah. Well, one of the big coaches and legends of Jackson Milton High School in the volleyball and girls basketball realm. He did a lot for that program, a lot for those girls. He was coaching right up to the end. I mean, he was on the bench this year with that team, helping them out. So we want to give a shout out to them and what they're going through. And that's a big loss for that community as well. So I know that's a little late. Those were both last week, but since I wasn't here, I wanted to make sure to retroactively give my spark out to both those both those people, both those communities for what they've done for this community, both in the media department and the radio, and then of course the coaching department with what Pat Kenny's done at Jackson Milton.
Yeah, I remember talking to Pat when I was back at the paper, and he would always call in his scores. And most of these coaches are calling in their scores. We spend 2 minutes on the phone. They give me the box score, and they're like, all right, they just want to get it over with.
Right.
Pat was always one of those guys I would spend like 10, 15 minutes on the phone with, because we would just have conversations. We would just, we would just talk, and it was always good. I always remember him. So that was a good one. I guess my spark, I want to give, I got two. I want to give a shout out to big game Sean Elwood. I think he joined YSN I believe towards the end of the football season, and to hear some of his calls, I would say probably 50% of my highlights that I've done this year have been with Sean on the call. He's absolutely killed it. He's had some huge games over the course of the past 2 weeks, including the Harding Howland game a couple weeks ago with the buzzer beater. He's had a couple other ones. The kid's been killing it on the microphone. So if you got a game this year for YSN Live and Sean's on the microphone, you're in good hands. I just want to give a quick shout out to him. Another one kind of also in tune with Sean, Chase Moore, Mineral Ridge senior, 1,000 points over the course of this weekend. Got it done against Waterloo, so he joins the Mineral Ridge record books. He's a player over there at Mineral Ridge. I mean, when I've been around, Mineral Ridge hasn't been huge on the basketball end, but they're definitely trending in the right direction with him in the middle of the paint. And he's had a very good season, very good career over at Mineral Ridge, and 1,000 points and climbing through the end of the season. So I'd have to go with that. I don't know if I did this right, Anthony.
You did it absolutely.
I'm going with.
There's no wrong. The spark is like if you were a fan of Around the Horn, when the winner of Around the Horn got their FaceTime,
okay,
you use
I got you
whatever. That's your spark.
Yeah.
That's what I agree. Just there's no right or wrong. Whatever's on your heart, brother. Whatever's on your heart.
That works for me. That works for me.
That's a great spark. And by the way, Chase Moore, the 10th Mineral Ridge player to achieve that feat in their long basketball history. He's a monster. He's just a monster inside. I wouldn't want to deal with him. I wouldn't want to get in his way. I'd be doing that old Ole right to the go. Ole, good go, man. You can go get the layup. I'm not putting my body. I'm making the business decision, not putting my body on the line and getting in your way. Greg, great show, buddy. Thanks for staying with us for the full hour.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Martin Luther King Day, you're off, and we're off too. So, once again, check out the game schedule tonight. It's a little bit sparse compared to most Mondays because of Martin Luther King Day, but there are still games on the network. Sean Elwood is in action, so maybe check him out. And you see Greg out there, give him a little bit of a holler, give him a little bit of a fist bump when he saw it with the camera out there. And we'll see you next week, buddy. We're moving to Tuesdays, right?
Yeah. I'm going to be on Tuesdays now. I got class 12:30 to 1:30, so the schedule's a little bit tight. Driving over to Mount Union, so I'm going to be on Tuesdays moving forward.
Tuesdays with Greg McAfee going forward. We can't wait to see you next week, buddy. Thanks for the time. And for all of you, thanks for watching. May the sports be with you, everybody.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go to ysnlive.com.